It's amazing panel discussion, so I would like you to stay. How are we going to put the chairs? Anyone going to help? You help? Thank you. That's fantastic. And our panels, once, as they're getting, ready for that one, I want to our actually, core team, which I mentioned, anyone with this scarf, part of our core team. But I would like to also introduce Radhika, stand up. She is, I know she's busy doing email, I guess, or something. No. Radhika is our director in West Coast, I would say. A lot of, activity in Bay Area. That's where we started. So she's the one that's actually driving our West Coast chapter. Anyone from West Coast interested, make sure you see Radhika. Yulia, stand up. Yulia does everything in that chapter, including training, awareness, everything you can imagine, and networking. And I would like to acknowledge Carmen, stand up. She's with IBM, both of them with Intel, Carmen with IBM, and she's part of our awareness committee. And thank you for, I think that's all. And then, of course, I already introduced Ziya, that she's going to be the panelist up there, so you're going to hear about Ziya some more. But thank you, everyone. A big...
So just one note, Sharma. So West Coast, West Coast, we are almost 1,000-member meetup community in the Silicon Valley, so do look us up on Meetup and attend any one of our training sessions.
Yeah. So during the panel, we would ask you to also join us, ask questions. Anyone ask questions? We have a little goodies for you, so make sure you do ask questions. Encourage you with that one. And I think there was a question here. Sorry.
Yes. Do you have anything for New York?
New York? Absolutely. Gunjan.
Plan is to start a satellite in New York. If you're interested in starting a satellite, please do send me an email with your contact, and we'd be happy to get in touch with you. We want to start something in New York, though. That's absolutely the plan.
Your email? What is it?
Why don't we connect? Let me send you.
Okay. You're going to be on the panel, so we want to make sure we don't. Of course, IBM. Okay. Nick going to be on the panel, and they have a big, presence meetup in New York, which definitely we want to tap into that and, have this jump start. I think we only have one, so you're going to get ready?
Yeah. Okay, if you guys, I'm going to introduce each panel member, and then you could take a seat. First of all, hello, everyone. Thank you for making it. Thank you for supporting Women in Big Data. My name is Donna Fernandez. I am the co-founder and COO of Metastream. We are a startup, just started 3 years ago. I'm very excited. I loved Kavitha's talk as well, and I'm excited to say that I'm part of the 7%. Which is a good thing because 7 is a lucky number. My CEO is also a woman, Chinny Driscoll, and I think we're in Washington, D.C., but I literally feel like we're one of the few, if only, women companies in D.C. that I meet. We actually organized the Washington, D.C. Apache Spark meetup. We're over 2,000 members strong there in D.C., and we also organize the healthcare big data meetup. So if you guys are in D.C., come and check out our meetups. I'd love to see you there. Is there anyone in DC now, here in the audience? Anyone that, no? Everyone's Boston or otherwise? Well, not to alarm anyone, but I did just get a text that my flight is canceled tomorrow. This is my first time in Boston, so I'm glad to be experiencing the full effect of Boston in real time. So without further ado, I am going to introduce our panel members, and then I'm going to have them take a seat. First off, you guys got to meet Gunjan earlier. Gunjan Sharma is with Capital One. She leads the development of big data processing capability at Capital One. She brings 18 years of experience in software engineering. And as you heard, she is the founder of the East Coast chapter of Women in Big Data. A fun fact with Gunjan, she has 2 young boys, and her 11-year-old already codes in Python, so pretty exciting. All right, anybody have any kids that age that are already coding in the audience? Anyone? Okay. Gunjan, you got beat by just one person. Next up, I'd like to introduce Julie Greenway. She leads the Big Data Analytics Initiative at Bose Corporation. They are building a cloud-based big data platform to analyze and deliver customer insights at Bose for their new Bose connected products. Prior to Bose, she worked at Accenture, also my alma mater, where she led BI and technology there. And then a fun fact from Julie, for those NFL fans and Patriot fans, her husband works at Bose as well, so it's a Bose family, and he is involved in creating the headsets at Bose. So hopefully you guys weren't cheating, right, with the headsets, no? All right, next up, Nick Dimtchev with IBM. He's a BU executive for global analytics and sales at IBM. He runs a team of experts in open source analytics. Nick is also the founder and lead organizer of 5 open source analytic meetups. I'm pretty jealous. You actually only have me beat by 2. I have a secret meetup that I co-run too. That's not big data. So, he's up to 3,000 members with his meetup, so pretty impressive. Nick tells me he has a 13-year-old dancer, a daughter who's a dancer, but now she wants to be a scientist, so she's coming around, right? Next up, I want to finally introduce Ziya with Intel. She's the VP and Director of Big Data Software Technologies at Intel Software and Services Group, and also the System Technology and Optimization Division. Prior to Intel, she worked at Motorola. Now her group at Intel focuses on the implementation and optimization of Intel's platforms for Hadoop and Spark. Ziya also has a 15-year-old daughter, but she has the opposite issue that Nick has. Her daughter wants to be an artist. So we got to work on her, right, Ziya? Okay. As we mentioned earlier, we do want audience participation. There's a gift for you. We're going to take a couple prepared questions, and then we are going to go to the audience. Before I give out our first question, I just want to get a sense of the audience here a little bit. I wanted to understand how many folks here in the audience are data scientists versus, okay, so half, and then the other are engineers, big data engineers, okay. And then this was a fun one for my panel members. I'll scoot around so you could see me. How many people here are Bose customers? Anybody have Bose devices? Okay, Julie. And then how many are IBM, customers? Anybody using IBM in the audience? Okay. Probably worked with IBM, right? All right. And how many Intel? How many have an Intel device? Okay. And then, okay, how many have a credit card that says Capital One out here? Okay. So you guys have a couple people to win over. And then how many here, this is your first Women in Big Data event that you've attended? Okay, a lot of you guys. So hopefully this will not be your last one, all right? Okay, with that said, I wanted to ask, yeah, okay. I want to ask our panelists, maybe I'll move over here. Start off, what's your overall impression of the big data market in 2016, looking backwards? There's been some debate that the overall Hadoop market is slowing down, so we wanted to understand your perspective.
All right, I'm the first one. So in 2017, actually, the big data market continued with the strong growth trend. Actually, if you look at the most recent survey Databricks has done for Spark, Spark developer community has exceeded 1,000 developers, and that's a 67% growth over the last year. And then the Spark SQL usage growth has gone up by 70%. Spark streaming usage growth also has gone up by 60%, and so on and so forth. And especially a couple of years ago, if you look at Spark, it was mainly adopted by high-tech companies. But then in the last year or last 2 years, is getting more and more acceptance and implementation in the large data-driven enterprises. So definitely it will continue with the fast growth. I often get asked, so is Spark going to replace Hadoop? Is Hadoop growth going to eventually die? I actually think these two ecosystems complement each other really well. They're one integrated data analytics platform. Actually, I was just reading some of the latest market research data from Allied, and they're still showing until 2021, even Hadoop market will continue at 60% CAGR, year-over-year growth for the next few years. It's because Hadoop is very strong as a data lake solution, and Spark is very good for analytics and machine learning and data processing type of capabilities. They really complement each other. I think they will grow together. That would be my response.
So from my perspective here at IBM, we have seen tremendous growth in the Spark area, probably triple-digit percentage-wise growth. We've seen a lot of customers moving workloads to Spark, but more importantly, what we have seen a lot of startup companies and customers developing applications that include Hadoop components. For example, we work with some of the incubators of startups that build services and applications that underneath use Spark. So in addition to the trend of moving from Hadoop to Spark, we have seen a lot of companies embedding the technology into their products, which will drive more growth. So when we're talking about growth, we're not just looking for the immediate purchase or deployment of the Hadoop or the Spark ecosystem, but also other applications that are embedding that technology and providing them as a service. As an example is one of the startups I mentor and work with in New York provides intelligent agents to set up appointments in your calendar, and they're using machine learning and Spark to do that. So you can leverage this service and not even knowing that you're using those technologies. The same way that very few people raise their hands that are customers of IBM, but pretty much every one of you may, in some element, use some of the machine learning and big data technologies as you go into an ATM or using your taxes, you're filing in taxes with HR block, they're using Watson machine learning. So there's a lot of different ways that you touch that technology and you consume it, mostly for applications. And then we see the growth is in the application space that embeds the big data, real-time analytics, Spark, machine learning technologies, specifically around IoT or Internet of Things.
Do you want to go back to more questions? No, all the way? Fantastic. So from a Bose perspective, I can say when we started our big data journey, we started purely with a proof of concept on a Hadoop platform. And we learned a lot. And when we went into our production architecture, we said we're bringing Spark in. So to build on what Ziya said, the two platforms complement each other. So we're heavily leveraging Spark for the data ingestion and Hadoop for our data lake. And we're going to be growing and building the capabilities within Spark as we really strengthen our data science practice at Bose. So they really work together. And then you had mentioned, what do we see from not being one of the large banks or insurance companies, but being in consumer electronics? I'm watching a lot of my peers and a lot of other companies, even in the Boston area. I have a lot of friends in the retail area, and they're just even starting their big data journeys. There were lots of proof of concepts last year, moving forward in this year. So I certainly see a lot of the companies outside, again, financial services and insurance coming into the big data journey. So a lot, that's what I'm seeing from the trend.
Yeah, I think what I'm going to say is very complementary to all that you've heard so far, which is there's been a natural evolution, both from a business and a technology perspective, right? From a business perspective, Data capture was being done. Now those things are in production. Now companies are thinking more about business capability. They want to do different things, innovative things, and that's when you switch that to, I'm not doing a big data project, but I'm adding new business capability. You are then thinking about how do I achieve this? And a natural answer, if you're doing more of the things from a futuristic perspective, that you are going to embed those new technologies, which are big data technologies, like a Hadoop or a Spark streaming application. Anything that you choose there, it just enables you to do more from a business perspective. Even from a technology perspective, there's a natural evolution. Hadoop came in first, but now as you have more use cases, you will see that there's gaps in what Hadoop has to offer. And then there's a natural evolution of people who are coming up with technologies that fill those gaps. Given that there's so much runway, you can still do a lot. So I wouldn't say the Hadoop market is slowing down. It's just every technology has its place for the right use case.
You all have been very successful in your career. If you could take a trip back to your younger self, what advice would you give the audience in this market today that would help them the most? So we'll start.
Well, my advice is not really related to big data. It's general advice. It's never cease to learn. Keep your eyes and ears open. Always be out there looking for opportunities. Find things that you can naturally go into that play upon the skills you've built and that can leverage more and get you towards the right path. That's really all I have to say. I started my kids young. I hope that they don't switch to becoming an artist and they keep with the big data technologies. But who's to say what they're going to do? Well, with big data, who knows? They might figure out big data technologies to make art better. That's my hope.
Art.com. They're a fantastic use case. Okay. Thank you, Gunjan. That was the one I had thought about. Stay curious. Never let that thirst for trying new things escape you. But building on that, a lot of people come into me and say, I want to do big data. That's great. Tell me what kind of coding language. Not that you have to have a coding language, but have a coding language. Understand basics of logic. Understand the basics of data and data manipulation. Really is extremely helpful. Not a lot of folks, especially in universities, take programming languages unless you're in a certain degree. I remember I'm an engineer by education. I had mandatory humanities courses I had to take, but the inverse wasn't always true, that the folks who had the humanities degrees didn't have mandatory chemistry 101 to take or calculus. So I think there's some opportunities to really get that technology under your belt, explore coding languages, even if you don't want to be a coder, understand what it can do and the capabilities and how it's applied every day in the world around you.
That's a great question. I would summarize it with two things. The first one is always innovate and try the new things. What we've seen, technology changes all the time. There will be something new in 6 months, in 12 months. We don't know what it's going to be. But it's important to be on the forefront of the innovation and even driving some of that innovation. That's how this country is doing great as far as innovating and leading the world economy, just by innovation. So try something new, try the latest technology, the latest languages. Don't be afraid. There shouldn't be any fear trying the new technologies. And not even just from a technology perspective, but from a career perspective. Try new jobs, new opportunities. Don't play too safe, because then if you don't take a little bit risk, don't be reckless, but if you don't take a little bit risk, you would not move forward. So be bold and try new things. And secondly, there was mentioned earlier, networking is really important. If I can do a lot more of something, there'll be more networking. Because in some cases, I always say it's not just what you know, but who you know. You have better networking, you can get a lot more things done, both from a technology and career and personal perspective. So networking is really important. And this is why this event is so important for you to participate and grow this community, because at the end of the day, it's about the community and building those relationships and networking.
So the panel already covered different aspects. I actually agree with almost all of them. The only thing I can add is, like in the last few years, quite often I get asked, oh, Ziya, I'm currently working in a different field, but I want to get into the big data space. What do you think? So usually the advice I give is that if you're trying to get into the big data space, let's say you want to move into the marketing or sales field for big data, you need to assess the skill sets. How big is your skill set gap with what's required for being successful in a big data space? Now, do you have the business acumen? And can you pick it up really quickly? And if you're currently a developer, do you have the relevant programming skills? Or how big the gap is? If the gap is too big, don't force yourself into big data in one jump. You may want to move into adjacent field first. Have some interaction with big data. And then you will have a better assessment whether this is the right field for you or not, whether you will have the true passion for working in big data. And then maybe it will take you a couple of steps before you finally move to a big data or analytics domain, which is fine. So that's what I could think of. Thank you.
Thank you, panelists. I really like Nick's response. I am a big believer in networking myself since we run the Spark meetup in DC. Just out of curiosity in the audience, how many people in the last month have been to a networking event? Okay, more than one. More than one in the last month. More than two in the last month. More than three? Okay, Kavitha, that's why you're VP of Marketing at Databricks. So audience, please take that advice to heart. Come out more. There's so many opportunities to learn and meet new people. We're going to take audience questions. Does anybody have a question out there for our panelists?
My question is, as you all are in leadership positions at big data companies or companies who work in big data areas, what actual specific technical areas do you think is the best to develop our skills in to have the most growth in the future of our careers?
I can start. So I think if you look at the big data ecosystem today, obviously the hottest area is machine learning or AI that's built on top of the big data platform. And this is kind of explains why in the last couple of days, almost all the keynotes and presentations somehow touched on the learning aspects. So this is definitely one of the biggest interesting area. And if you look at AI started in the 50s, and then it kind of died down over the years, and it's getting warm and hot again in the last a few years. But really, it's due to the fast increasing computational power and availability of big data. So bring AI and big data together can be really revolutionary. So I think this is definitely one area. The other area is streaming. A lot of a vertical segment, if you look at healthcare, finance, manufacturing, transportation, and many more, they're looking for more and more real-time the analytics capabilities. So bring real timing, bring streaming and big data together. That's another area. And well, Spark's SQL related. I know SQL actually is no longer something new. It has been part of the original big data ecosystem almost since day one. But still it has many good use cases. Many analytics applications are built on top of SQL. And SQL is still the most known programming language among the developer community. So if you already have SQL skills, this is an easy area for you to move into big data. And then maybe over the time, you can expand into other areas. Those are the few I could think of.
This is a great list, and I completely agree, but my advice will be don't just go into one or two or three technologies because A, they change, B, the breadth of the ecosystem is too large. My advice is pick a project where you can apply some of these technologies and explore the breadth of what is available out there to be able to see how you can apply them to a specific use case or a project. So instead of going and learning specific topics, try to find a project that can put all these things together. And that's the best way to probably expand your knowledge and find new things, and then you go deeper. That'll be my advice.
Another question.
Thank you. So this is my first time to be in this summit, and thanks to Fari. I work for Intel, so through Fari I was able to come to this one, so thank you for that. My question is about the fragmentation that we have in the industry with regard to the tools used to make business insight out of big data. So Ziya, I think you mentioned SQL or MySQL, excuse me, you mentioned SQL, and you have a bunch of NoSQL company out there. Machine learning was also mentioned. You have so many different frameworks out there as well, right? So given also that we have so many startup companies that basically create some niche into any of those layers from, from the bottom to starting obviously from Intel or IBM and going up the stack there. You have so many different fragmentation there. So my question to you guys are, what is your assessment or your take on all that fragmentation through all the layers? Do you see that as an asset for the industry or an impediment to slowing down progress in the industry?
I'll take a start at that. So as a customer of many of the technologies, this is a really exciting time, not only for internal architects that are evaluating these technologies, but it gives us options. You don't always have to get locked in with one vendor or one technology. Check out the open source market. If there's not a technology or vendor that meets that need today, there will be tomorrow. So while there is just so much to choose from, you find your way, you find the right technologies that meet that specific need or that use case that complement the architecture that you have. So it's the choices are endless. It enables you to say, yes, we can meet any use case because the technology does exist somewhere. We just have to find it and apply it.
So the way I see this is a market that is still developing. It's not a mature market. When I started in school, in college, they said any market that is mature is consolidated. So 70% of the market is controlled by 3 players. Doesn't matter what industry. It could be cars, it could be something else, right? In software. So what I see, this is a natural progression because the market is still developing. But more importantly, having a lot of choices gives you competition and alternatives, and the natural selection will bring up the best strategies, platforms, and choices, right? So it's market force. So I see this as a natural progression. It's good for the customer, it's good for the companies because they have to excel, and then it will get consolidated at some point. Nobody knows how long it's going to take, but this is a natural progression of the market, and it's good for you, it's good for the economy, it's good for innovation. So I see this as a benefit. Make it hard for you to make the right choices, but there's a lot more benefits from having choice, and then the best ones will probably propel forward and get consolidated.
We're going to go back to our prepared questions, and we'll take it back to the audience in a few here. This question's for Gunjan and Julie. What challenges do you see for new entrants in big data? We talked a little bit about this already. We'd like your personal thought.
Right. So I think that, yeah, like you said, we've already talked or touched upon that topic through the audience questions as well, right? The topmost question, even on a LinkedIn forum on big data and analytics, is, I want to get into this field, where should I start? Right, so there's so many technologies, there's so many tracks you can talk about, all the way from ETL, data warehousing, to data processing for something that you're doing as an operational pipeline. Or you can talk about, then you get into AI and cognitive computing and machine learning and deep learning. Each of those come with their own technology stacks. How do you kind of navigate through all of that and figure out where you should focus upon. Actually, for a specific program for women in big data in 2017 that we've talked about is creating this matrix of, this is my skill set today. This is, how should I start? So if you think about a data engineer, what kind of skill sets do we see in the market for a data engineer? And then you just backtrack from there saying, I know SQL today. How do I get to this place if that is indeed where I want to be? I want to be a data scientist, but this is what I know today. How do I make my steps towards getting to be a data scientist? So it's just you have to kind of create a matrix in your head. And it's not easy. You have to kind of figure out what's out there and then see where you are today. The easiest way is to, like Ziya was saying, pick adjacent technologies so you can make your move towards where you want to land. For companies, on the other hand, similar type of question, right? So the companies are, well, there's so many technologies out there. What is the right choice? How do I choose what I want to do? What do I want to invest in? I think the question needs to be, what is the business outcome that that company is seeking to achieve? And then you kind of think from that perspective of what do I need to make happen to achieve that outcome? And when you put that lens on, you can kind of arrive at the right answer. Again, it will have to be a research because there's so many things in the market today. You just have to get through some criteria, what is being adopted, what is the most popular. If I choose an open source product, do I have adoption around it or a community around it? So those are the questions that you need to answer. But then that, again, speaks to those are the challenges that exist today when you make that choice.
I think you hit the nail on the head. I'll just hit from the perspective of as a new corporation getting into the big data market. There was 4 major big Hadoop platforms at the time. We looked at a few of them. We explored some proof of concepts, but it really was, what was the business case we were trying to solve? And we knew that was really looking at enabling a place for all of the data that's coming back from our connected products to be made available for the data science community. So we knew that was our use case, and we picked the right technology for us. And I think we've made a strong choice, but we're always enhancing that architecture. But just knowing as a corporation where to start, it really goes to know what the problem is you're trying to solve.
We'll take it back to the audience. Do you still have a question? I think I promised to have you. Thank you. Good.
Yes. So I would be very interested to know what resources you use to stay on top of the latest technologies and trends, and if there's any specific trends that you see in the coming, say, 5 to 10 years that we should be aware of. Thanks.
So what resources we use, like at Intel, there are a few routes actually we take. One is we have our internal engineering team that we build new, we do new innovations, we create new projects, and we do optimization for performance on Intel hardware. So that's definitely leveraging our internal expertise. And also we recognize actually the big data ecosystem is heavily driven by open source. So for that reason, we collaborate very closely with open source community. So that's why we have very close relationship with the Spark leaders like Databricks. So that we kind of look at the overall trend. What are the heaviest hitters for the new use cases? And what should be the new innovations be like? So that's another approach. And the third route we have is working with our customers, because at the end, whether it's a hardware solution or big data software solution, at the end, the solution stack has to be used for a customer environment. So we work with the customer, understand their needs. The need could be related to security, could be related to analytics, could be related to AI. So that's where we got new ideas. And we feed that information back to the solution delivery channel. So that's the resources that we leverage. In terms of the future trend, I kind of touched on a few. One is AI integration with big data, streaming, real-time processing for big data, and security. that's always there. Security, whatever the solution that's getting used, that's built on big data, at the end, the information has to be confidential, has to be encrypted, and has all the necessary security aspects. So that's another area. And a SQL, as long as you have your many existing analytics applications, they will be, many of them will stay on SQL. So those are from the technical standpoint, technology standpoint, those are the few areas. And of course, new use cases could come, and maybe in the next couple of years, there will be some newer things for us to discover.
So from our perspective, is things change very quickly, 6 to 12 months. So 5 to 10 years is very far out there. But we released some principles that we believe that are important in this technology. For example, one of the core principles is that artificial intelligence, cognitive computing should not replace jobs, but should augment human interaction, right? So this is not about replacing humans as the technology evolves to have robots or self-driving cars and other agents. There are a lot of companies are investing very rapidly right now, but augment how humans do their jobs, right? So we see the technology developing as an augmentation rather than replacement of a real human job. So that's one principle. The second one is the overall governance of how you govern all that technology. As the machine learning evolves and takes more important tasks and replaces certain decision-making steps, the ability to have transparency of how this is done, right? So it doesn't look like a black box. So that transparency of how artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data works is another important principle. And the first part of the question, what are the resources that we use? IBM has close to 400,000 employees, 370,000. And as we found that, it's very hard to find the right skills in the marketplace. You cannot just go and hire 10,000 data scientists because you want to, right? It's a chicken or the egg problem with getting those skills. So what we realized that we need to invest significantly in training and education. So we made a commitment to spend $1 billion in education and hire a number of people from colleges to be trained to be data scientists or experts in big data. So we have a huge investment in education in order to build those skills rather than taking them from the marketplace. And that's what we call the new collar jobs. Those are new jobs that we create and we educate those employees rather than requiring them to have those skills up front. And I'm part of this initiative that we're hiring a number of people out of college the diverse way to be able to build those skills. Otherwise, there's just not enough there in the market space. So hopefully that answers your question.
Let me take it back to our prepared questions for you guys. This one for Ziya and Nick. By 2020, statistics show that over a third of applications will be deployed on the cloud, and many see cloud as the dominant way to deploy big data and analytics. What are the key drivers for your organization or customers to move to the cloud?
So yeah, we're definitely seeing a big trend of big data and analytics applications moving to cloud. I think there are a couple of drivers. First is data gravity. Actually, if you look at all the 90% of the data that human society has today was collected in the last few years. And yes, there are certain percentage of that was created in enterprises, but a lot more data is getting created in the cloud. So the data gravity resulted in the phenomenon that you're seeing big data and analytics applications built on top of or closer to where the data was located. This is why you're seeing more and more big data analytics applications are getting created in the cloud, because cloud now has more data. Especially with a lot of IoT getting devices, weather information, transportation, other type of information they're sending to the cloud. Another driver is the cloud infrastructure. Cloud infrastructure has the flexibility the scalability and elasticity, so you can easily deploy a big data ecosystem onto your cloud infrastructure without worrying too much about how to manage the underlying environment, especially for small and medium-sized companies that don't have the engineering capacity to worry or to manage the complicated hardware environment. Moving to cloud is a natural choice. But will cloud-based deployment, cloud-based big data and analytics eventually replace on-prem or enterprise environment? I think the answer is no. They will coexist. I think cloud-based deployment will go through the growth, and eventually it will mature and stabilize, and then the two formats of the environment and solution stack will coexist.
This is a very good point. What we have seen working with customers is, just to summarize, cloud is just making it much easier experience to use the technology, right? So at the end of the day, a lot of people say it's cost. I personally don't believe the major driver is cost. There's certain situations that cost is a factor, but at the end of the day, it's easier to use and deploy and implement the technology using the cloud. I even work with some customers that they figure out that the cloud deployment actually may cost them more money than on-premise, and they're trying to bring back from very large cloud deployments on-premise some of their infrastructure to reduce cost. So the point here is that cost, although is brought in as an argument, that is a major driver, and it could be in some use cases. What I have seen personally, customers are looking to adopt cloud because of ease of use and how quickly they can deploy their projects and have the flexibility to do new things and innovate much quicker. So at the end of the day, it's about ease of use and less about cost of what I have seen.
I think we have time for maybe one or two audience questions. Go ahead.
I feel that there's lots of emphasis on how to get into data science and big data, but not enough emphasis on how to grow once you're in the field. I feel that the career growth path is not very clear, at least to me. Like 10 years from now, what kind of positions would I be able to fill if I stay in this position? Is it going to be consulting or management, or maybe switch to product? So because these things I feel are not very, very clear. So what do you suggest are the positions or paths that we can take so that we keep going up the ladder and not getting stuck in a specific position for a very long time in this field?
I'll give it to.
Fantastic. That is a great question. I think a lot of us are thinking about this question and how to coach our employees on a daily basis. I can speak a little bit to it's not exactly big data, but my own career, hands-on practitioner in global BI systems. And when I started, big data didn't really exist at the level that it is today, and got into either program leadership, project leadership, team management, and then becoming more of a strategic influencer of the organization. But it builds on what do you want to do and what is within your skill set, what interests you, and build upon that. So I've seen places where folks with data science skills can grow up through data science and get into product marketing or product strategy if that's where their interests lie. Maybe they want to get into management, become a people management, and coach and mentor junior data scientists. So it's not a one-size-fits-all answer. It's really build upon your technology, but really where do you want to grow your career? And going back to what we heard earlier, finding that mentor, building that network, and building you up to where you want to grow. And sometimes you're going to grow sideways, lateral moves. Sometimes you might take that chance and try something that's brand new. So there's no really one size fits all, but there's tremendous potential. When you really know how things tick and tie, you can really go anywhere.
Gunjan, do you want to answer that? I think we're going to have to wrap up with you.
Okay. I think, no, Julie, that was an excellent answer, and I hope that kind of gives you some food for thought. Again, and you heard from Kavita, she talked about what is it that we need to do better right? You are sitting at the table, but take that seat at the table. Network. Those are the things that are going to, it doesn't matter if you're in big data or any other field. These are just universal, right? You need to understand where you want to go, right? And you need to chart out your own path. Use your networks, use your colleagues, your supporters to clear that path for you. But you would have to take that in your hand, right? Only then it's going to be possible. I wouldn't think so much as, do I want to climb the ladder? Is that my goal? Well, that could be your goal. But more and more, as companies become data-driven, there's different kinds of leadership that's evolving, right? In the technology fields as well. So that's something that you can watch out for and gravitate towards this or that, depending on where you want to go. But the basics remain the same, right? You need to chart out your own path with support from others.
With that, that's the end of our panel. We wanted to thank you. I don't know if we have any other closing remarks besides an opportunity to come up and meet our panelists and network. And thank you so much.